Okay, everybody. Is everybody in bed and tucked in? Denali, are you tucked in? Junie, are you tucked in? Okay, well, we are going to continue telling the story of two naughty boys, Max and Morris. They were the naughtiest boys in the whole town, and they would get into trouble right and left. Well, today the two boys were walking down the street trying to decide what could they do that would be really naughty. And Max said, I know, we can go pull some girls' pigtails. And Morris said, nah, that's not too good. Let's go throw some acorns at squirrels. And Max said, no, that's no good. And just then they were walking past the house of their school teacher, cranky old Mr. Peter. Mr. Peter was one of their school teachers, and he was always cranky. He would say, rah, 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 and he would complain. He said, the weather's too hot. Wah, 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 wah. And when it cooled off, he would say, the weather's too cold. Wah, 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 wah. He was always complaining. He was one of those people. Denali, have you ever met anyone who just always complains and is never happy? Well, as it happened, old Mr. Peter lived next to a river, and his house was built right on the river, but to get from the road to his house, he had to walk across a plank. Denali, you know what a plank is? A plank is a wooden board that you can put across a wet place so you walk across and don't get your feet wet. So, old Mr. Peter had a wooden board that he crossed every day when he walked from the road to his house. And today was no different. But Max got a sneaky idea. He said, hey, Morris, come here. I know something we can do to sabotage the plank. It's going to be really funny. What? What can we do? Said Morris. Max said, look, I have this saw. And if we take the saw and go to the plank and cut through the plank most of the way so that it's not cut all the way through, why, then when he steps on it, the board will crack and he'll fall in the water. Morris said, hee hee hee, that's a funny idea. You have a saw like that? Max said, I sure do. Come on, let's go, I'll show you. So the two boys walked from the road over to Mr. Peter's house, and there they looked across the river, and there he was inside his house, getting ready to change his clothes into his Sunday best. Well, Max got out his saw, and he started to cut the board. It sounded like this. Quick, said Morris, I think he's coming. Quick, finish sawing. And Max very carefully cut the board almost all the way through, but not all the way through, so the board still stood across the river. Then the two boys quickly hid themselves behind a bush. Quick, said Morris, here he comes, quick, hide, he's coming. Well, old Mr. Peter slammed the door to his house. I'm late for church. There's always church. I'm always grumpy, that's me. And he started walking across the plank, and he didn't see that the plank had a cut in it. Uh-oh, he's getting closer to the cut. Uh-oh, he's right in the middle of the plank. Crack! The plank broke with a snap, and Mr. Peter fell bottom first into the river in his Sunday best. "Ah, ha, ha, look at that," said Max and Moritz. "That's so funny. His feet are up in the air. He's in the water. All his Sunday clothes are ruined. That's so funny." Oh, they had the biggest laugh, and they ran away. Meanwhile, Mr. Peter was in the water and said, "Oh, blub, 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 help, I can't swim, blub, 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 what am I going to do, blub, 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 blub." Mr. Peter was in the water, but he couldn't get out. Luckily for him, two swans swam by just at that minute, and Mr. Peter got an idea. He said, "I don't like swans. I don't like any kind of birds, really. I don't like anything because I'm pretty grumpy. But I think I can grab these swans by the feet, and maybe they can pull me out." So he grabbed the two swans by their feet, and he said, "Blue, blue, blue," and scared the swans, and they flew out of the water with Mr. Peter hanging on to their feet. And they pulled him right out. Well, Mr. Peter got out of the water, but his Sunday clothes were ruined. They were muddy and wet. He said, "I can't go to church like this, and besides, now I have a tummy ache." "Oh, I hate getting a tummy ache," he said. "Whenever I fall in the water, I get a tummy ache. Oh, my tummy hurts." Denali, have you ever had a tummy ache? Yeah, you have. Junie, how about you? Well, what do you do when you have a tummy ache? Do you put something warm on it? Well, anyway, Mr. Peter, he tried everything. He bent over and held his stomach with his hands. He even laid over a chair to squeeze his tummy. And finally, he sat down on the stove in his kitchen to warm himself up. Just then, Mrs. Peter, his wife, came in and said, "Oh, you silly man, what are you doing?" He said, "Oh, I have a tummy ache, and the board cracked, and I fell in the water, and my clothes got all muddy. Oh, me." She said, "Come over here and lay on this table." She said, "I know just the thing." And she got her iron out of the stove, which was nice and warm, but not too hot. And she put the iron on his tummy, and all of the gas went out of his tummy along with the pain. Psh, psh. And Mr. Peter felt better. Oh, that actually feels pretty good. And do you know what? From that day on, all of the grumpiness and Mr. Peter was gone. Psh! All the grumpiness whisked out of his body, and he became the nicest man in town. Every day he would give the children chocolate and jelly beans, as much as they wanted. Everybody loved Mr. Peter from that day on. But Max and Morris were still around, and they had more mischief coming because they were two very naughty boys. The end. You have been listening to Opa's Bedtime Story Channel. I hope you liked it. There are more stories coming, so ask your mom to hit play on that playlist. Bye-bye.